now when we can have, summer interns come up and they are every race, creed, color, gender, but they can see someone that looks like them on the bench. I think that is so beneficial because it's representation. And when they look at me, young kids, law students, whoever it is, I want them to say, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Man, if a white kid went up on the black tent and they told him to leave and the white boy stabbed and killed a black kid, God is my witness, nobody would be supporting that white kid. But only colored people of the melanin will support a person who committed a crime and killed another person. Prices have been high for the last few years, and they're still high. And sadly, most folks are having to lean on credit cards just to cover their bills. That's why credit card debt is at an all-time high, trapping millions of Americans in a cycle that feels impossible to break. But there's hope. American Financing can help homeowners pay off high-interest debt using your home's equity. They're a family-owned mortgage lender that's been around for 25 years and are licensed in all 50 states. Their mortgage consultants are salary-based, means that there is no incentive to put you in a loan that doesn't work out for you or make sense for your family. In fact, customers save an average of $800 a month when they let American Financing help. There's no upfront or hidden fees to find out how much you can save, and you can even close in as fast as 10 days. You may also be able to delay up to 2 mortgage payments, giving you even more savings up front. They've helped hundreds of thousands of homeowners, and their Google review speaks for themselves. Call 866-889-8010. That's 866-889-8010 or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Tatum. All right, let's get to Karmelo Anthony. I've been waiting to talk about this all day. So the Karmelo Anthony situation comes up. They reduced his bond amount from $1 million to $250,000. Let me say this, some of y'all gonna be mad at me, but I just gotta be honest. I'm just giving you my honest take. I thought $1 million was pretty high to start with. Now, as a family of your child that's been murdered, $1 million ain't enough. But when it comes to the way they prosecute certain crimes, $1 million was pretty high for a person that doesn't seem to have the propensity for violence outside of a one-to-one engagement. Which means if this person was doing a drive-by shooting, a gang initiation thing, or he was doing something where he was attacking innocent people, he could be a danger to the public outside of this incident. So you will have his bond amount be an extremely high bond amount. But I think what happened is they defaulted to a bond amount without evaluating the circumstances, situations. When they evaluated, the reduction of the bond amount seems to be reasonable. But to $250,000, I don't know if that's reasonable. But the reduction from $1 million seems to be inevitable and reasonable based on the crime that was committed. If it was more heinous, which means that he shot somebody to death and stood over him, had no remorse, he tried to hide, he was fleeing the scene, they had to go on a manhunt for him, he didn't admit to it, he's now saying, all of that will cause your bond amount to be crazy high because you show no remorse and you could be a danger to be let out in the public. But since this is a mutual combative situation, not mutual in the use of force, but mutually combative situation, which is a one-off, there's no anticipation that he's going to flee. Like all of those things that are contributing factors. But let me just tell you this. The only reason why, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about this, and I believe because it's racism on display from the black community. I'm just saying, is there white people that are racistly, biasedly supporting Metcalf? Yes. But the majority of the conflict and the racial dynamic is on the side of the melanated people. Why do you say that? Because this was not a mutually combative situation. This was a kid bringing a knife to an event and stabbing another kid in the heart in a disproportionate use of force. The kid tried to throw the knife and run. He admitted that he did it. There was no instance whatsoever of a self-defense claim. You can make the claim, but I don't know if a grand jury or if a jury will give instructions that are favorable to a self-defense claim. I don't think the self-defense claim is relevant whatsoever. And a lot of black people know it's not. However, these white folks ain't finna do something against a black kid. Even a black kid wrong. They gonna raise money. They gonna show the white people that they gonna support this black kid no matter what. That's what it is. Black kids kill black kids every single day, stabbing them, shooting them, choking them, pushing them off stuff. They doing it every day of the week, and not one GoFundMe is afoot. Nobody's talking about it. There's no T-shirts. Nobody's talking about it in the media. It's when a black kid kills a white kid and he deserved to go to prison, but black people don't want that because he killed a white kid, which shows you, in my opinion, that deep down inside, a lot of your black friends hate you, and it's only going to come up to the surface when one of these instances happen. If it's a black and a white thing, you're going to know if your black friends really like you or not. And I think it could be vice versa too, but I think it's more on the black side than the white side from my personal experience. All right, let's roll this clip.
Within the past hour, 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony has been released from the Collin County Jail after posting bond. A judge reduced his bond this morning from $1 million to $250,000. He's facing a murder charge after police say he stabbed another teenager, Austin Metcalf, while at a track meet at a Frisco high school. Stephen Dial is in McKinney with more. Stephen.
Karmelo Anthony left the Collin County Jail in a suit but had nothing to say to the reporters before he got into that vehicle. The district court judge says that she looked at all the factors in this case, him not having a criminal history, and that led to her making her decision to reduce his bond. 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony was silent after bonding out of the Collin County Jail and being placed on house arrest.
How is this self-defense?
2 days after the family of Austin Metcalf buried their son, they were at the Collin County Courthouse for a bond reduction hearing Monday. Karmelo Anthony is accused of stabbing and killing Metcalf at a Frisco track meet earlier this month. The case has quickly become national news, drawing a lot of attention, resulting in threats and increased security at the courthouse.
Threats and, talk of race war and all kinds of insanity isn't good for, obviously, the Anthony family. It's not good for the Metcalf family.
Cameras were not allowed inside the courtroom, but we did capture the Anthony family arriving. His father, Andrew, testified in the hearing. District Court Judge Angela Tucker said that she's never gotten this volume of calls and had to have this level of security in the courtroom in her 13 years on the bench. Court documents say Anthony stabbed Metcalf during a fight. When an officer arrived, court documents say Anthony told the officer, "I was protecting myself." Collin County District Attorney Greg Willis spoke after the hearing.
The judge has made the call, and so what's important is what's next, and it's our job to be level-headed, to be fact-based, and to follow the truth wherever it leads.
Anthony's father testified he's taking a leave from work because of the incident, and his wife is a stay-at-home mother with 3 other children. During the hearing, the prosecution brought up the fact that more than $400,000 have been raised for the Anthony family, saying a reduction is not needed because they have the funds. A big question in this case will be, why did Anthony bring a weapon to a high school stadium? It's a question that was asked of his attorney.
That's an understandable question, but it's not something that, frankly, we're prepared to even go into.
Now, in the opening statement to the media from that interview that you just heard, he led with talking about self-defense. Again, the court documents mention self-defense. We'll have to wait and see how that defense will be made in court when things pan out. Now, according to the judge, the terms of the bond are house arrest and ankle monitor. She told him to stay off social media, and he has to personally call her bailiff every Friday morning, not his parents, but him. And there's a list of other things that is set, and if he violates that, he'll return to the Collin County Jail.
All right, Stephen Dial live for us. Thank you, Stephen.
Now, let me explain something to you guys. I know many of you know this, but sometimes we have to be reminded. A person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So I know it sounds weird, but this is the reason why people can actually bond out. Even though he admitted to it, technically he's innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, let me explain why. Because if there was an actual self-defense claim, then he could actually be innocent of committing the crime which he was charged for. Now, unless they completely lie and there's evidence that nobody else talk about, there's no way he's going to have a self-defense claim. And I'm explaining it again for anybody who missed it. In order to have a self-defense claim, you can't antagonize or instigate an incident and then claim self-defense, meaning that the kid was under somebody else's tent, verbally asked to leave, not physically asked to leave, nobody touched him, nobody did anything. He was verbally asked to leave, which is a reasonable request for somebody to ask a person to get from under their tent when they're not on that team. But then he says, as he reaches in his bag, according to the police report, that touch me and see what happens. Now, he's not afraid for his life, right? Because he could walk away. Just like when he stabbed the person, he ran away. So it doesn't appear that he's afraid for his life because he's sitting there taunting and suggesting a physical engagement with somebody, right? It's like, come on, touch me and see what happens. He's inviting conflict. And he knows, this is why they charged him with first-degree murder, because he knows he has a knife and he knows that he's going to stab him with a knife as soon as they touch him. Not hit him, not assault him, not jump him, not pull a knife on him or pull a gun on him. If they simply touch him, he's going to use deadly force against somebody to kill them. Now, whether you intend to kill a person or not is irrelevant because you're utilizing deadly force against another person. So when you say, touch me and see what happens, that's where they develop premeditation, meaning that he knew he had the knife, he concealed the knife, so they didn't know he had the knife, but he knew and premeditated, when they touch me, I'm going to stab them. No matter what force is being used, I'm going to stab him. And then they said they touched him and he said, well, hit me and I'm going to stab you. The same scenario. He could walk away, but he didn't, because he knew that if they touched him or did anything, he wanted to stab and kill whoever was in his way. And that's exactly what he ended up doing. Now, the proportionality of force. First of all, self-defense can't be initiated. You can't initiate a conflict and then claim self-defense. Second, the use of a deadly weapon has to be proportional, meaning that if I just grab your T-shirt and say, man, move out the way, and you shoot me to death, that's disproportionality of use of force. Because a person that used deadly force have to have evidence that a reasonable person would believe that person feared serious bodily injury. A black eye is not serious bodily injury. A busted lip is not serious bodily injury. They have to fear serious bodily injury and or death, meaning that he believed that they were going to kill him, or he believed they were going to use a deadly weapon against him. So he overcame that force with deadly force. But when you say a person has touched you and you're going to use deadly force against them, it's disproportional. If you say hit me and the person never hit him, he was never punched, he was never physically assaulted with a strike, with any instrument or fist or anything. According to the police report, they shoved him, pushed him out of the tent. That's not deadly force. Pushing somebody does not necessitate deadly force. Pushing somebody is a hard argument to say, I feared that I was going to receive serious bodily injury or even be killed because the person asked me to get out the tent, I refused, and then he pushed me and I thought he was going to kill me. So I stabbed him in the heart. Premeditated. This wasn't a scuffle. Well, I can get my bag. I got to get my knife. I'm losing a fight. That would be heat of passion. That could be manslaughter. That could be second-degree murder. But when you got the knife in there and you're ready you're instigating and encouraging a conflict to know you're going to use deadly force, is why I think that the young man got an uphill battle to climb. That's why I said he's going to do a plea deal. Because when you guys ever look at the court of law, there's a thing called jury instructions. And this will kill you if the jury instructions from the judge, for instance, he will have the jury evaluate deadly force, that the force has to be in combating of a deadly weapon or the fear of serious bodily injury or death. Here are examples of this. Here is other case law that the prosecution can present of situations where a person is using deadly force justifiably. And the situations are incredibly extreme, which will not meet anywhere near where Karmelo Anthony is at. And therefore the jury have no reason, no way to give him any self-defense claim. So they're going to do a plea deal. I think they should do a plea deal. But the arrogance and all this support from the black community may cause them to want to take it to trial. Because all they need is one juror to go, I don't want to prosecute him because he's black. Hung jury. They're not going to get a case. They'll drop the case, drop the charges. That may be what he's fighting for. But I honestly believe, I don't care if you're black, white, green, or orange, you take a deadly weapon to an event, because a deadly weapon, a gun, is no different than a knife. It's no different than a knife or a gun. They're both deadly weapons according to the law. You're bringing a deadly weapon to an event. To do what with it? To defend yourself from who? You instigated the incident where you went under somebody's tent and refused to leave after a reasonable request. You initiated a conflict by encouraging somebody to touch you and see what happens. They had no intent to touch him. They just asked him to move. He said, touch me. He said, hit me. So he can do what? So he can kill somebody for hitting him or touching him like he requested. All right, I think I said enough, but I'll tell you what, I think it's crazy that they're raising $400,000 for this kid when they won't raise $400,000 for a black kid that's a victim of a crime. But because he killed a white boy, black people are jumping on the bandwagon to support. And they're getting all these conspiracy theories of saying, well, why didn't they just let him stay under the tent? They don't have to. They don't have to. Now, if a white kid went up on the black tent and they told him to leave and the white boy stabbed and killed a black kid, our God is my witness, nobody would be supporting that white kid. But only colored people of the melanin will support a person who committed a crime and killed another person. It's insane to me.